Blog Talk Radio.
Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better rev than death, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind...
We are... All right, that's just a little screw up there on the intro. Boy, oh boy, huh? Hit one button and everything goes crazy. All right, Joseph Gibson podcasting here, understanding the times in which we live today. I've got about 3 callers here I'm trying to connect here, so you just got to be patient with me. It's live internet radio. That's the way it goes. Phone number 657-383-0616, and then you press the number 1 after you're connected, and then I'll get you on. Usually I do open phones all the time. I always take callers. I always take callers because, you know, most people listen via the internet, and they click on the link and listen that way, or the box there on Blog Talk Radio, or they go into the chat room. But, you know, you got some people that take the time to call in, and that's so I don't like to make people wait too long when they're on hold waiting. So I'll be back with you here in a couple minutes.
The New World Order, I've analyzed it from every angle. I've analyzed every facet of it. They are not going to be able to get away with getting the New World Order off the ground. There is no way that they are going to be able to set up this open world government, openly ruled by a private banking cartel that taxes and regulates every facet of our lives, without staging terror or a huge war. Period. And again, thousands of pieces of data and research go into. People ask me, well, how do you know this? How do you understand this? You just have to have your...
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
President recognizes Mr. Adams of Massachusetts.
Objects of the most stupendous magnitude. Measures which will affect the lives of millions, born and unborn, are now before us. We must expect a great expense of blood to obtain them. But we must always remember that a free constitution of civil government cannot be purchased at too dear a rate, as there is nothing on this side of Jerusalem of greater importance to mankind. My worthy colleague from Pennsylvania has spoken with great ingenuity and eloquence. He has given you a grim prognostication of our national future, but where he foresees apocalypse, I see hope. I see a new nation ready to take its place in the world. Not an empire, but a republic. And a republic of laws, not men. Gentlemen, we are in the very midst of revolution. The most complete, unexpected, and remarkable of any in the history of the world. How few of the human race have ever had an opportunity of choosing a system of government for themselves and their children. I am not without apprehensions, gentlemen. But the end we have in sight is more than worth all the means. I believe, sirs, that the hour has come. My judgment approves this measure, and my whole heart is in it. All that I have, all that I am, and all that I hope in this life, I am now ready to stake upon it. While I live, let me have a country. A free country.
Live here, understanding the times in which we live today. I did have, like I said, a few guests here I wanted to bring on here tonight. They wanted to talk about their personal stories, but it's very difficult to, you got to remember sometimes, to come on here and share your personal. I did have one of the ladies on, a long time ago. It was, I think it was about 6 years ago she was on, or 5 years ago maybe. But she's on my social media, and I was talking to her, and she's going to try to get a few of her friends there on who have similar stories that to share their stories. So hopefully they'll call in and share their stories and talk about a lot of problems. And they wanted to also talk about post-traumatic stress disorder that they suffer, and how wearing a mask also. They make you wear these masks now. It's mandated in a lot of states, and so you can, literally suffocate yourself to death. And you got people driving down the road with masks on their face, passing out because they're not getting enough oxygen, smashing into telephone poles, and swerving all over the side of the road, and because we got to be safe. You see joggers running down the sidewalk there, with a mask on. And the mask does nothing to save you or help you. Does it stop the spread of germs? Probably not even. I mean, figure it out. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. All this time now, all these years, through the wars, through the flu viruses, through the polio viruses, and the AIDS epidemic, and all these other things that have gone, cancer that we all catch, and all this stuff, with this little COVID thing's got the whole entire world. And now they got a new strain, in Brazil. There's this new strain that's coming up, and how convenient, because now we got the southern border open, and they're flooding the gates there, and they've got they wouldn't let the media in to the facilities where they're housing the children, and you have United States senators down there patrolling the border or going to these facilities to check them out, and they want to bring the press in with them, which the press should be allowed anywhere that is a governmental or a government-controlled institution to, especially when there's children involved, to photograph and report back to the boss of this country, the boss, we the people, because we're the boss, right? That's what it's supposed to be. Then I just played an intro there with Mr. Adams there. Mr. Adams, does anybody know who that is, by the way? One of the founders, that wrote this thing that we call the Constitution, that's supposed to be the law of the land, the law, the guideline to what we're supposed to be governing by. If we have a question, we always refer back to the Constitution. The Supreme Court does not make law. The Supreme Court, whatever the Supreme Court rules on, does not and is not supposed to affect any of us whatsoever. Okay, it's case law. It's just precedent. All it is it has to do. I explained this years ago what the Supreme Court really stands for. I went over. I did like 30 minutes on it. But the Supreme Court does not make laws. They don't write laws. They don't confirm any laws. All right. Now you can challenge a law that's unconstitutional, take it up to the Supreme Court, and they can either strike it down or uphold it. But does that make it the law of the land? No. Congress really writes the laws, and we the people, they represent we the people. So the Congress is the representing body that's representing our views and what we want. We the people. But we can only want what we want through the guidelines of the Constitution. What the Constitution says, that is the foundation to which we live by. People say, well, what happens if all the people want this or want that? That's called, and you have a constitutional convention. And that's very difficult to do. That you have to, get 2/3 of this and all the states, and it's a very difficult process. We the people. So we have to follow the bill. And that's what's so great about the Founding Fathers and what they established with the Constitution. That is the law of the land, the Constitution. So anything that conflicts whatsoever with your constitutional rights is not law. It's not valid. You say, oh yes, it is. Well, yes, because they'll get the enforcement there to make you comply, and that is so far from what the government is supposed to be doing. That's not the government's job to make sure you comply with codified statutory laws. And that's not what it's about. And that's why we have fallen so far away. People say, well, you got to have these laws. You just can't have everyone running around wild. Well, you have to say, well, how did this happen? There's a reason behind all of it, because there's people out there who want to control you, bad people who are influenced by bad things. And we don't have to get into a Bible thing or evil or whatnot, or talk about the devil or God or get into a big debate about that. But there's bad. You have good and you have bad. And you have the bad. And the founders were good. And you have the bad out there that wants to control, and they want to control you to have control over you so they can achieve their means and live comfortably and well. I forgot how the story went. I may tell it wrong. I don't know. I remember it was a good story that was told. It was about 7 people trapped, stranded on an island. And I forgot how it goes. I might be telling it wrong. They're trapped on an island, and everybody gets together, and you have to survive. They have to survive. So they're going to divvy up all the jobs. What to do. On the island to survive. One guy goes out and gets the fish, or the food. One guy gets the firewood. One guy builds the fire. Whatnot. Everyone has their own little jobs in this little world, that in their society that they're in. There's one person that wants to not do anything. So what do you do with that one person? You have to. So these 7 people, what they do is they lay down. This is how we're going to live. They build a foundation on how they're going to live. Okay, and that's what our Constitution is basically about. And that's what because you have one person that doesn't want to do anything, or if you have one person that's evil, I guess you could say, and out of these 7 that wants to control everything, and then and that's how it's human government, and basically the Constitution is there to restrain sin, and if you look at the quorums and all the meetings of our government, like when the House meets or the Senate, they always open up with a prayer. They don't even do that now. It's just like our public schools. When the kids would, before you go to school, when you were in school in the morning, the first thing you would always do what? You'd pledge allegiance to the flag and they would used to have prayer in schools, and then you learn for the day, because that's what our country was founded and modeled upon, was that we had a creator, and that creator was God, and we were all, and they took prayers out of schools in the 1950s, was it? 1952, 53, 54, somewhere around there. And look what's happened to the public schools. So my point, what I'm trying to say is when we abandon that relationship with the creator, or a foundation of belief or a governing system like the Constitution, which we're abandoning it right now, there you get chaos, you get corruption, you get immorality, you get people out of control. So now we're spinning out of control, right? So I was just saying, well, wasn't it a good thing, we have these laws, whatnot, we have driver's license, seatbelt tickets, and this and that, and we have to have police out there making sure people aren't, they're enforcing these statutes, and and we make people, we hit them where it hurts, the money, we fine them, and all that's all well and fine, but the problem is people always want more, the people that are in control. It's just the way humans are. We want more. We want more control. And if you're in kings or tyrants or whatever, and our system of government was not set up that way. It was set up as a constitutional republic. So therefore, the people were actually in charge, and we would elect these representatives to represent our views and work for us. Now, they're our employees. Now, tell me, what I just said right there, does that make sense as compared about how we're living today? These politicians do not care about you at all, at all, at all. And I've proven that so many times because I've called them live on this podcast, and it reflects on our society too. Our society reflects. It's a big mirror, where the reflection of us looking at them and back looking at us in the mirror. It's just no answer. It's like, what do we do now? Well, the founders gave us a key and a tool to fix this, and it's either by altering or abolishing, the government. And we don't want to do that, because if we abolish this government and we have just mob rule out there, and we go and plunge into a civil war, which I would never advocate violence, because look at the people we have out there. Look at society. It's insane. We need police. We need people being told what to do, because they can't govern themselves. They can't do it on their own. They can't. The communities, they can't come together and work on their own. In some places around the country, you have good people and people that are willing to stand up and come together and do the right thing. But if you go in a lot of places, the majority of the places now, I mean, for goodness sake, you go to most cities today, it's a freaking jungle. You have to have if you don't have police or some sort of authority there to keep people in line and keep the peace, you'll have people will be hurting each other. What did I say from the beginning is that people always want to have control over others, and they'll do it by any means necessary because they always want more. I like what you have, so I'm going to take it. Well, you can't do that. That's not right. And so you have this big. So it's all. So now, at the end of the day, after all that's said and done, You have one final authority that oversees everything, and that's your Creator, and that's your God, whether you like it or not. Because obviously, and then, we get into this whole theological discussion. And we did that the other night on the other podcast where we got into a very in-depth discussion with Dr. Peter Ventura and a couple other people that had very large disagreements on how, about God and what good and what evil is and who's behind it all. Who's behind the evil? They say it's this mystical, fake thing called Satan. Satan's behind all this evil, but he doesn't exist. So like I said, I don't want to get too much into it theologically because because we're coming up on this pagan holiday called Easter, and if you look at the origins of Easter and what Easter is all about, you sure as heck would not be celebrating Easter Sunday. Okay, so and by the way, Jesus Christ was not crucified on Friday, and he didn't rise on Sunday. Okay, it was on Wednesday, that where he was put to the cross. So it was 6 p.m. I think he died 6 p.m. Wednesday. It was on a Wednesday, and all this is documented Wednesday. But if you go to the records, they kept records of people they crucified and put on the cross. He wasn't the only one they put on a cross back then, and that was their way of punishing people. So. But he got it the worst out of anybody, I think, as ever went to the cross, and so I mean they just whipped him and beat him so bad that you couldn't even recognize him. So and hung him up there, and so he took a severe lashing. And for what did he do? What was his crime? He committed no crime, and this is it. And there's records that he did exist. So I don't want to hear he's a mystical creature or some, something man-made, made up in our heads. And all these years, his name is more popular than anything that around the world. I mean, if you can go anywhere, you can go to the farthest point of this world, and they all know who Jesus Christ is. So nobody knows not Jesus Christ. So as we come upon this holiday where that Christ was slain and murdered. And the Romans were the ones that murdered him, So that's the truth. I mean, you have to use common sense when you think about it. When you put him in the tomb, there was an empty tomb after. There was no body in the tomb; it was gone. Well, that's all a lie. They could have made that up. They smuggled the body out of there. Well, why would they do that? Because if Jesus didn't resurrect and rise again, and the body was still there, the entire Christian thing, the entire belief that everything that Jesus preached and his apostles would be a lie. They would have, So the Caesar, the guy in charge there, he would have been more than happy to disprove what Jesus was trying to do. But when they opened up the tomb, there was nothing there. So he descended into heaven, just gone. So, he resurrected, like the Bible claimed and prophesied years and years prior to that. It happened. They didn't just magically make it happen. It wasn't a conspiracy theory that they made it happen. It really happened. So that's what our country is modeled upon, is that we believe in God, and that's what the founders, when they came here and landed on Plymouth or wherever they landed, I don't care whether you don't believe it or not, the Mayflower, I don't care. But obviously they came over here from Great Britain to escape tyranny, a tyrannical system they had over there, the king, and they came over here, and we have America today that's really pretty much about almost over with. You can see it. Our borders are wide open. We have a president that's not really our president, whether it's you say you want to take Trump or not, but he's a de facto president. Joe Biden is even if he was president, he's not there. He's not here on Earth with us. That's for sure. I mean, just look at him. I mean. He can't even walk. He's tripping over himself. I mean, anybody watch the press conference that he gave or the speeches that he gives? They're talking in his ear, telling him what to say. He's either drugged up or he's got dementia or his mind is going. And I spoke to a friend last night there about the COVID vaccination. I think he's 84 years old. Took the vaccination. 1 week later, now he's going. His mind is gone. So you don't need to take that vaccination. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I personally, in my opinion, I would not, because it's not approved, number one, and number two, it's an experiment. I don't want anybody experimenting with my life and my body, and I don't know anybody that's died from COVID. Has anybody? I mean, I don't know anybody. I know people that say they know people, but they just yes me to death to say it. Oh, yeah, he had it. Oh, yeah, they had it. How do you know? How do you know that? Well, he told me. Well, if I tell you I'm Superman, does that make it so? So, I mean, how do you know? You don't know. So I just don't. Have never met anybody with COVID. Now, this past winter, I did get sick, very strange sickness for about 8 hours, and then it passed, and that was COVID. That was COVID. Everybody's telling me, oh, for God's sake, it was just something I ate, It's called, people with these masks, these zombies that walk around. It's just totally insane. I mean, so this mask, post-traumatic stress disorder, to get back to the beginning here, PTSD, this post-traumatic stress is something that it's a disabling problem that we have here in America with people. And, it's something that has to be treated. A lot of people suffer from post-traumatic, especially veterans too. And it's something, it's something that you're traumatized from something that happened throughout your life, I guess, I don't know, it's hard to say. It's inability to, I guess, perform your regular daily duties or activities in a normal manner. It inhibits that because you have you're thinking, you're just not balanced anymore. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Some people have it worse than others. Some people are able to manage a little bit better than others. And if anybody out there who has post-traumatic stress disorder knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's a very, very difficult thing to live with. So that's what I was going to have these ladies come on to the podcast and talk about that, and amongst other things also. So if anyone wants to join in here tonight and has a subject that they want to talk about or bring to the table, you're more than welcome to. The phone number is 657-383-0616. And this HR1 thing, too, you want to talk about that. This is insane what they're doing. And what's wrong with having a driver's license or ID to prove that's who you are when you go to vote? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I mean, we're having elections here. And I can vote here, and then I can just go up the road and go vote again. Give them another name, and then vote again. I mean, we have to have some sort of regulations for voting. I mean, another thing that the government is supposed to be controlling, according to the Constitution, by the way. So, again, press number 1 if you want to come on here, and the phone number is 657-383-0616. If not, I've also got, I'm going to call this show here, this other podcast here on. And I'm there. I was on there about 2 weeks ago, and this is a women's show, and they're the Black Panther Queens or Black Queens, Panthers, whatever they call themselves, and they make no logical sense with their rhetoric whatsoever. And I was on there, and they, eventually got angry with me and kicked me off because, they're blaming the white man for everything. The white man is the problem. White people, you all have to give us this and give us this and give us that. And this is another heated discussion and problem in America today, that we're having racial problems because people don't know the true history of this country. They call us European invaders. It's the white man's fault for their problems today. I don't understand how, I can understand if this was the 1920s and they were saying this, but today in 2021, the black population or black community out there, they're not being held down. There's no Klan riding through the streets in the middle of the night on their horses getting ready to lynch them. Or, they're not subjugated to racism or with whatever you want to call it. Today, it's a black person can do more. Actually, they have the ability to do more than whites. Applying for a job, you go to a bank, get a loan easier, and that is the truth. And especially these illegal aliens that are coming over the border, they are given free checking accounts. They're given incentives to get loans. Start up a business, everything, all kinds of things, all the hopes and dreams that you would want, where everyone should be on an equal playing field. We should all just do what we can do, the best we can do, and then you're given the opportunities according to your ability. That's what it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. And I'm going to take a call here. up down the line here, but there is an article I want to read also, though, about something that's about vaccinations real quick before I get to my first caller. This is very serious. The Biden administration is coordinating with several companies to develop a standard for implementing vaccine passports within the U.S., according to reports. The Vaccine Passport Initiative aims to force Americans to prove that they have been vaccinated against the coronavirus to travel, do business, or otherwise interact in society. Interact in society? The Washington Post here, from the Washington Post. The passports are expected to be free and available through applications for smartphones. So now you're not going to be able to get a phone unless you have that, probably, right? Which could display a scannable code similar to an airline boarding pass. Americans without smartphone access should be able to print out the passports developers have said. Other countries are racing ahead with their own passport plans, with the European Union pledging to release digital certificates that would allow this for summer travel. U.S. officials say they are grappling with an array of challenges, including data privacy and health care equity. They want to make sure all Americans will be able to get credentials that prove they have been vaccinated, but also want to set up systems that are not easily hacked or passports that cannot be counterfeited, given that forgeries are already starting to appear. Though the Biden White House has declined to directly elaborate about its role in developing these authoritarian travel measures, it confirmed through coronavirus coordinator Jeff Zients that it's working on these digital papers. Our role is to help ensure that any solutions in this area should be simple, free, open source, accessible to people, both digitally and on paper, and designed from the start to protect people's privacy. Zients said at a March 12th briefing, the globalist establishment has been pushing the notion of vaccine passports since the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic. In particular, the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, multinational corporations, and European governments as part of the Great Reset agenda. The big problem facing these entities, however, is that 1/3 of Americans, over 100 million, have no intention of taking the experimental COVID mRNA vaccine, prompting NIH Director Francis Collins to declare that vaccine skeptics must somehow be convinced to take the jab eventually. Well, folks, that is something else. That is something else right there. And then I won't read this one, but I'll get to my caller now. Before I do, Vatican Cardinal, in a globalist world, there are no borders. That's what the Vatican Cardinal has said now. And we all know Rome, The Woman That Rides the Beast, a great book to read by David Hunt. That will explain The Woman That Rides the Beast. And you'll understand a lot there. So let me take my first caller from Connecticut. Go ahead.
Good evening. I don't see you don't have too many callers, so I thought I'd jump in here and cause some chaos and outrage and get people to actually pick up the phone and talk. And what I'm about to say, of course, is my own opinion, and I don't mean any disrespect against anybody, and I have a right to say what I think. And I think you said it right there in what you were reading, this experimental vaccine. It's an experimental vaccine. It has not been approved. You are not required to take it. You can't be mandated to take it. It's experimental, an emergency order, and you do not have to take it. You were talking about PTSD, and that's a good thing. And I'm sure there are people listening here that might have wanted to call in, but some people may be hesitant or reluctant to do so. And that's the problem with America today. Most of this PTSD, I'm sure it's caused by the I want this, I want that. You owe me reparations. You know what? Get out in your yard, pick up the 40-ounce bottles, paint your house, keep your kids home at night, get a job, and work for what you want. And that'll help. Because these people with PSD, especially coming back from war, they see what's going on. They come home. They come home to their home, which they knew. It's littered with filth and litter and people with pants down around their asses, swearing at them, throwing little nipper bottles all over their yards, smashing bottles in the road, swearing and cussing, and all you hear is, I want, I want, I want. And it's somebody else's fault. It's not mine. No, it's your fault. Get off your ass and do something about it, and stop asking somebody else to help you. The vaccine is not a vaccine. It's experimental. A vaccine has certain properties associated with it. I spoke about this before. The 1905 Jacobson study spells that out. This vaccine, so they call it, is not a vaccine. It's more of a treatment than a vaccine, and you are not required to take it. Off the top of my head, I may have forgotten something that I wanted to talk about, but I'm sure it will come to me, so go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm sure you're referring to a lot of the people in the inner cities that you're talking about throwing beer bottles all around and stuff, because you don't go out, you don't drive down a country road and see crack bags and needles and beer bottle, 40-ounce bottles, on the street. I think I remember correctly, I had somebody there, we talked about this, years ago, where I broke down in my Mustang in a bad neighborhood. And and you say bad neighborhood because it was one of those neighborhoods where it was littered with trash, and people were all standing on the corners doing nothing in 90-degree heat, taking a piece of paper, using it as a fan, and yo, yelling at cars going by, flagging them down, ready to hustle this person. And I was broke down, and I lit up a cigarette, and I would say every minute to 2 minutes, somebody would ask me for a cigarette, and it's like, go buy your own. Give me a drink. You got this? Hey, can I get a ride? Don't you see I'm broke down? It's like I owe them. Just because I'm there, I should share with them. Or I should give what I have to them. And if you say no, they get angry, and then the mob starts to form. And then like a pack of wolves. And then they want to take it, and that's why I was talking about. You need police to keep the peace. You have to have some sort of, in today's society, because America, this great melting pot with all these different cultures of people that speak different languages and different backgrounds and come from different places, they act like savages, and that's just the way it is. I mean, that's the truth. I know that's offensive, and I'm a racist now, and I'm a bigot, and I should be banned and fired from my job and all that, but no, it's the truth.
And the Democratic Party is the biggest racist of all. I said it on your other show. They are scared shitless of the black people, the Democrats. That's why the black people should stand up and do something that's right and fruitful for America and speak up, because they do have the voice, because the Democrats are scared shitless of the black people. Why? Because they're killing 40% of you every year through Planned Parenthood. That's what they do. What's this Jim Crow? Nobody even knows what anybody's talking about when they say Jim Crow, but they keep talking about it. Maybe somebody will figure it out one of these days. That's right. And it's not the neighborhood that's bad. It's not the neighborhood. It's the people in the neighborhood. Sitting there at that gas station for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours or whatever it was, many people came up, and they weren't white. And they said, buy me this, buy me that, give me this, give me that. One white guy came up, and he actually walked a quarter mile down the street with us and went to the store and purchased items and tried to fix the car. Not one black person did that. All you got there was buy me and give me.
Well, yeah, and people say, well, that's because they're in a less fortunate, they're poverty stricken, and they see what you have, so therefore you should share what you have with somebody else. Look, I don't know how to explain that any way whatsoever on sharing or giving. I mean, I don't understand. First of all, I'm broke down. This scenario that we used, this story that we talked about, I'm broke down. What are you doing here? What are you doing standing on the corner doing nothing? There was packs of them, because the homeless shelter was right around the corner or whatnot, and they're all huddled around these gas stations and these food marts harassing the poor shop owner there because he's got to sit behind a concrete wall with a piece of plexiglass 9 feet thick with a little tiny little hole, and you can't even hear him when can I get $10 on pump 1, please? I can't hear you. Because he's got to protect himself, and everything that's of any value is behind him. So you can't. So that's how we want to live in America. What causes this behavior? You know, I mean, what puts these people in this type of situation? Is it them not wanting to get out of it, or is it designed? Why is this happening? You know, I think most people like it living like that. I think that we're there in that neighborhood. I think they enjoy being around their kind and, you know, slapping each other high five and, yo, hey, T-Bone over there. You know, I mean, they like it. It's like it's fun, you know.
Of course. That's right.
Yeah.
And little Billy Bob over here has something, so we'll go steal it from him, and then we'll have it. And listen, over the course of the last few years, you've had people on here of color, and I've offered to pay for them to come and stay here because they were complaining they had nothing, and not one of them or anybody has ever taken me up or talked to me about my offer. So don't tell me that, you know, I'm racist, because, you know, everything's racist, and that's the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth. Oh, you're racist, because that's what they do, and you're right.
Yeah. Well, we talked about God. We talked about God too, and it's this Easter thing. It's a deception. You know, what is Easter all about? You know, it has not. You know, and people, and you tell people this stuff, and now you're frowned upon, and you're a kook, and you're a conspiracy theorist. Look, the truth is, and this is how we fall away from the foundations of what this country was really built upon, and how it came to be. And people don't want to talk about it, and because people are scared to talk about the sensitive issues, like calling in this podcast you just said. You know, they don't want to press one because they don't want to talk about the hardcore issues that are facing us. We don't want to admit where's a problem. We don't want to talk about what's really the problem here, what's really happening, who's behind this. And I said, you know, is there one group of people behind this? Well, you know, what's evil? I mean, if people are bad and they're doing bad, are they naturally born that way? I don't think so. I mean, how could you be naturally born? How could you say a baby born is naturally evil? I would say that it's bred into them through evil in their society or culture, but they have a right to make a choice also at a certain time, because I could play devil's advocate here. You become of an age when you recognize sin or something bad, or you're doing wrong, so you have a choice between wrong and right. So why, you know, so is that true? I mean, see, I always ask pastors that, or people of churches that, is that, does the devil have that much control where you can't choose between good and bad? Are you naturally inherently bad and evil? Because somebody told me once, God has a hand in everything. God plays a hand in everything. He controls everything. Not anything happens without God's approval. Well, then if that's true, then how can a baby die, or how can people always do something bad in a certain group? I think it's all choice, and we choose that. That would be my logical explanation behind that. I don't know. You know, but in today's society, the Democrat Party obviously is completely possessed by something evil.
The Democratic Party is not.
Yeah, they're not good. You mean they're not good?
No, it's not. They're not a Democratic Party. They are not.
What do you mean by that?
They're not what they say they are. Everything they say that you're doing, everything that they say that you're doing, they're doing.
Well, yeah, it's a double standard. Do as I say, but don't do as I do. You know, but all the politicians are not doing what they say they're doing. I mean, we've fallen away in this country, but why have we fallen away? And see, everyone says they want solutions, but I don't think everyone really knows what the problem is in society, in our country. I don't think everyone knows exactly what the problem is and can pinpoint it to one particular thing. I think
remember, Trump was a Democrat originally.
Yeah. Well, Trump wasn't the answer to all our cures. Trump was just there to run, you know, I guess the Washington D.C. and he can't even legislate Trump as president. He was just a commander-in-chief the president's job is only like I think 3 or 4 things technically that he's supposed to be managing and overseeing. I mean, he's not supposed to control the economy. He's not supposed to control how, you know, like these vaccine things or whatever. He's not supposed to be implementing a card where he tells you where you could travel so you can get a flu shot. That's not his job. You know, that has nothing to do with it. But I don't know. I don't know.
And they speak with forked tongue, like the Indian said. Biden campaigning said anybody who rules by executive order is nothing but a dictator. And how many executive orders did he sign on his first week? There you go. Anything they say you're doing, they're doing. If they're talking about Russia, they're doing it. If they're talking about Ukraine, they're doing it. And everything has an ulterior medium to what they're talking about. Then that's why they call it D.C., the District of Criminals. I've been doing things.
Yeah. But how are you going to get rid of these district of criminals, though? How are you going to get rid of them? What are you going to do? I remember one time somebody was saying, it might have been you years ago on this podcast, you said there was a guy sitting at a table in front of the post office saying they were going to impeach Obama. You know?
That was me.
That wasn't good.
They're all liars. That's right. Because they're all liars. So it's like I said, they're the District of Criminals. They put a fence up around everything. Is that to keep them in or us out? Which one is it?
I don't know. But the problem is,
but if you remember, over the years, I said what they need to do is they need 40 miles of fence to put it all around D.C., and that's basically what they did.
Yeah. Well, they should. What that problem is they're coming to in and out of that fence, so they need to stay in there. You know, and if the government shut down, the country still goes on, runs just fine. So I don't know. They talk about April 19th is coming up. I know there's a big rally there, April 16th in Arizona. I think this is going to be huge there. I think a lot of people. I think it's going to. Who knows? This could be a spark in the South. For the border crisis too, especially this border thing. This is huge right now. This border thing, and now you got Trump going down to the border. Why is Trump going down to the border? He's not president.
According to your government, the border is closed.
What? What do you mean the border's closed? What do you mean according to the
border is closed? There are no adults going across the border. The only people they're letting through the border are children. That's what they say.
I didn't hear about that. I must have missed that one. So you're telling me if I'm traveling to Mexico, I can't travel to Mexico to and from?
Well, being an American citizen, I'm sure you could go through and you could come back. But what I'm saying is, if you're not, the border is closed. That's what I heard on the news today. Speaking of the news, the Democratic Party is so whacked out. They're such liars. They're such two-faced. They come up with such preposterous ideas. And when you talk about the Democratic Party in the media, you're talking about one and the same. It seems to me that they have a direct line to every news media outlet on the planet, that when they want something, it's out there. But the other side of the party can't seem to get anything out. So when you talk about Democrats in the media, you're talking about one and the same. But it's generally all a lie. It's generally twisted. It's generally half-truths. It's generally cut. And they only want you to know what they want you to hear. But what I've done, I've only been following politics for, 15 years, really, basically, 15 years or so. I mean, Clinton, yeah, I paid attention a little bit and everything and stuff like that. But it's become such nonsense.
You weren't in-depth studying the candidates. That's what you're trying to say.
It's become such nonsense, such a dog and pony show. Such a whole bunch of lies, and that only not goes for politics, but it goes for restoring the republic too, because nothing's going to happen. I've, in the past few weeks, transferred from listening to the news just to hear what's going on to listening to radio show broadcasts from the 40s and 50s, because they're entertaining and they make me happy. When I'm listening to the news, it's filled with death and detriment and fear and emotions and sorrow and taking your money. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay attention to what these jackasses down there are doing. I'd say pay attention to them, but you know what? I just don't want to hear it anymore.
Well, so what's that say? About this. I mean, I'm for instance, I'm reading an article right now. Satanism is the future under the New World Order. You read stuff like this. The promoting evil as good and good as evil is a key tenet of the elites. Globalist agenda. The Pentagon here promotes race war. Where's this going? So you're saying, it depends what news you're talking about that you want to watch and see. If you're turning on Fox News or CNN, you're not getting the facts. So yeah, you're right. You should just turn it off. You're not getting the facts. So where do you go to get the facts? You come to alternative media like this, like what we're doing right now, to have real conversations, have real intellectual conversation interactions with people that not doesn't have to be like-minded, but that's willing to make points. Like, the coming race war. This is a wake-up call by Carl T. Rowan here. It says, how do you tell when a great civilization is in decline, when a great nation is on the rocks, spiritually, morally, and racially, and economically? I look closely at my country, and everywhere I see signs of, like you were just saying now, signs of decadence, decay, and self-destruction. Respect for law and order has declined drastically, except in the phony speeches of politicians. The nation's capital is awash with special counsel and special prosecutors taking testimony from the president, the first lady, key members of the cabinet, and the Congress, all accused or suspected of criminal wrongdoing. The FBI is far short of being trustworthy. Its agents and former agents deep in partisan politics. Local police departments reek with corruption, including condoned lawlessness by some policemen. Our prisons bulge with record numbers of young Americans, mostly the fruit flies of the drug trade, while the big bumblebees of the crime and drug syndicates peddle their wares with impunity. Every day our newscasts begin with stories of grisly murders, sexual assaults, grotesque abuses of children, mass killings on job sites, and worse. America is sinking in greed. Our workers fear tomorrow, and their bosses grab what they can today. A corporate fat cat can get a $10 million reward for downsizing his firm that is putting thousands of employees out of work. Public morality has probably never been lower. Lawmakers writhe and wrangle over how to deal with television programming that spews out sexual rot and gratuitous violence, morning, afternoon, night, primetime sewers. Congress makes believe that a meaningless rating system and a V-chip will solve the problem. Racism has not been virulent throughout America since the Civil War, with short fuses burning on 1,000 powder kegs. We have seen our greatest law enforcement agency, the FBI, sit for weeks in a stalemate with a small Montana cult, the Freemen, if you remember that one years ago from the 1980s. We got the leaders, descendants of Northern Europeans, are God's chosen people. That Jews are the children of Satan, and that African Americans and other people of color are by nature dumb and immoral. It goes on and on and on. About how screwed up everything is in the world today and in the country that we live today. There's no answers. Nobody's given any answers or what we can do or how we go about it doing it, and that's what we try to do. Is we try to give the answers and solutions of what people can do, but they're not going to follow them. We could sit there and talk about the answers all day long and tell people what the answer is, and guess what? Are they out there doing it? Are people doing what they say they're doing? What are they doing? And you call people out on it, and then we start into an argument, and we get off subject. So is this what we're doing? Is this podcast just a waste of time? Is it all just a waste of time? What's the final solution here? What's the answer? I don't know. I'm going to take another caller here. Go ahead.
Oh, wait. Let me finish. Let me finish up and take another caller. If anything of what you said is true, if anything at all, what you said is true, I'll continue on here. I grew up during the race wars of the 60s. Everything's fine today, as far as I'm concerned. It was fine back then. People want something that they can't have. The government is afraid of the black population, and they will make adjustments to appease them. I mean, let's face it. That black guy in Chicago, they put his body in a casket, and they drove him down whatever street they drive him down here, just like when a president expires. Imagine that, just to keep the population happy. They did that and this guy died from an overdose of fentanyl, 3 times what would kill a normal human being. And this is what they did.
Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about that black person in Chicago where they got kneed down and he died on the street.
The Floyd guy, yeah.
Floyd guy, yeah. Well, listen. I don't really follow the news. I don't watch it. I just listen when I can. But if any of it is true, and this republic is not standing up to do something about it, then something is seriously wrong with what they believe in. You had a couple people on here the other night. One person was telling you the way it was, facts, and the way it is, facts. Another person was telling you about the tooth fairy. You know what? Let's deal what was and what is and see if we can fix that. Because the tooth fairy is not going to come around.
I think you're referring to the Republic that was on here. You know, that things are going to change and things are going to come about.
You're right, and I don't mean any disrespect to them because what they believe in is what they believe in, and I believe what they believe in, and I believe they're right. But you know what? If they want to fix it, then something has to be done. Don't talk about it. Do something.
All right. Well, I got this caller that's been waiting a while here. 863. I think I know who this is. Go ahead. 863. If I can patch him through, he should be getting through right now. Can you hear me, 863? I'm having trouble patching him through for some. There he goes. You should be through now.
There we go.
All right.
Good evening, Joe.
How you doing?
All right. I'm just listening to your caller there. Who in the world is that you're talking to?
Somebody from the state of Connecticut.
Okay. I didn't catch his name. What's your name, caller?
We call him Banker.
Okay. Do you honestly think that everything's okay now?
Name. That's his internet name.
You honestly think everything's okay right now? Everything was okay went back during the race wars and when you were growing up, and everything's okay now? Did I really hear you say that? That's all good?
I believe that's what I said, that everything was okay then and everything's okay now, because things are going to work themselves out. They did back then, and I believe they will now, too.
No, they didn't work themselves out. It got swept under the carpet, and now the dirt is resurfacing. And now this generation and the generations to follow have to clean it all up.
That's true.
So, I mean, and sitting around everybody saying that we're just going to pray. Prayer is only part of it, first off. Second off, we need more doers. And there's a lot of naysayers and fence setters out there about, well, I know what needs to be done, but I don't want to be called a racist or lose my job. You know what needs to be done. You know that what we're doing out there, you've got a piece of shit on the ground is what you've got here, and you're trying to resuscitate it. You're trying to kick it. You're trying to get it to perform. It's still just a piece of shit. And I'm referring to the people who I call non-whites out there, who everybody's saying that want to kill us. So why should I embrace an ideology that seeks to kill me and others like me and then sit around and clap like a seal and say that everything is okay and it's going to work itself out? I don't think so.
You shouldn't, and neither should I, so let's do something about it.
I am doing something about it, sir. My question to you is what are you doing about it?
That's not what I said. I said I agree with you. Let's do something about it is what I said.
I replied to you that I am doing something about it, sir. What are you doing about it?
Some of us don't know what to do or how to do it. Talking about it is not going to go anywhere. So let's get a move on. Let's get everybody organized, and let's actually do something rather than protest.
Okay, then what would you consider to be legal other than go out and protest? Because right now I'm not even seeing white people go out there and protest. They don't have the balls for that.
Again, you didn't hear me. I said I don't know what to do. What I'm saying is back in the 60s, it worked itself out, and you say it didn't. It got swept under the rug, and I agree with you. It did get swept under the rug, and this is getting swept underneath the rug too, along with that funeral procession down Pennsylvania Avenue or whatever it was. It's swept underneath the rug just to appease the black party, rather than actually fixing the problem and calling this person out for the kind of person he was.
Well, then I guess what needs to be done is we need to start off by calling out the people that are doing this to us, and that would be the international Jew. Are you willing to do that?
I'm an old man. I can't do much, but I'm willing to stand with you and do what I can.
Well, that wasn't my question. My question was, are you willing to call out the international Jew?
Based on what I've heard so far, yes, but I don't know all the facts.
Okay. Well, hey, we're getting somewhere, Joe. We are definitely getting somewhere with this. And I'm seeing a lot of this, so kudos to you, caller.
There you go.
I think a lot of people want to know the facts there. I think a lot of people do want to know the facts, but a lot of people have come on though, and they've challenged. And I'm not trying to bash you here or bash anyone, because I agree with a lot of what you're saying. But a lot of people say, well, it's not just the international Jew. There's bad people all around the world that are doing bad things that are creating this problem. So how do we stop that too? Because there's bad people too that are, there's others too that are really pulling the strings and doing bad things now. Now, who are the majority of them? Yeah, okay, then we don't want to. We want all the bad eliminated, right? We don't want to have, take out 80% of the bad people and then have 20% still left over, so the freaking cancer can grow again, right? I mean, we want them all.
Well, what are the problems that are standing in front of us right this second? We have an Antifa problem. I think everybody would agree with that. We have a Black Lives Matter problem. I think everybody would agree with that. Who do you think's funding Antifa? Jews. Who do you think's funding Black Lives Matters? It was started by Susan Rosenberg, a Jew. We need to start putting criminal charges against these international Jewish criminal thugs and calling them out for what they are. And I guarantee no less than 3/4 of your problem will go away. The rest of it is
whoever
just remnants
funded
of
Black
it.
Lives Matter. Yeah, whoever funds Black Lives Matter and Antifa, if those people that burnt down that federal courthouse in Washington were Antifa, they should have been arrested. And whoever funded that organization should be held accountable and brought on criminal charges. That's correct.
Jews.
But,
we can name them up.
But they're going to prosecute the 2 hours of protest on January 6th instead.
Yeah, January 6th, yeah. Well, we know that because why? Because they were mostly white people that were at the Capitol that day. They were mainly whites there, and they're scared to death. They're really scared to death They were scared to death of the militia movement at one time, and they don't. And they did what did they do to that? They infiltrated it and tore it to shreds and pieces. Because of a few bad apples that decided they want to go out and kidnap people and do something stupid.
Most of the crime we have in America today is perpetuated by blacks via the Jew. Nobody wants to realize that and come to terms with that, but that's the truth, whether we like it or not. Blacks are about 16% of the population of this country, but they consist of 78% of the crime. I would say that's a racial commitment to crime. That'd be my opinion on that. So you deal with the problem, which is the Jew that is sponsoring and funding this and bailing them out of jail whenever they break the law, giving them attorneys pro bono in court and letting them walk away and sending message to other people that they can get away with it if they try this. They need to stop this, and this stuff will stop. Now, you mentioned earlier in the show regarding the neighborhoods and why those neighborhoods are dirty, why they're crime-riddled. Well, because there's black people that live in them, and they don't care about themselves, let alone their neighborhood. There's not a hive mind. There's not a collective mind there. They put bars on their windows in those neighborhoods. What do you think? It's to keep white people out of their houses? No white person wants to go into those neighborhoods. They got bars on everything. They got bars on the Coke machines. They got bars on the air conditioners. No white person in their right mind wants to go into those neighborhoods. They destroy
you got white people that are on drugs, but you do have white people, Bert, that go over there to buy drugs now. So they have to be, So why are those white people going there to buy drugs? Because drugs is most of the prisons are filled with people that are on drugs. So drugs is the problem.
Joe, there's an old saying that I have out there, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You don't have to be black to be a nagger. I'll just say it like that because I know it's not allowed on this podcast, this platform. Nobody knows that better than me, but that's the honest-to-God truth. And they are turning these people into the garbage and the degeneracy that they themselves perpetuate every day.
Now,
they have no desires or ambitions to do better.
You go into any predominantly white area in this area, or you go into any predominantly black or Hispanic, whatever area, and they're totally different. The white areas are clean and quiet, and the black or brown areas are filthy, dirty, and noisy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like they say, like I've always said, it was a nice neighborhood till those white people moved in here. Said nobody ever.
But now, who's behind these international people, though? Is there evil? Is there? I'm not going to get this into a God thing, but isn't this the final answer, though? That what's our highest standard here of belief? You know, are these people really talking to the devil, the evil? Are these people really influenced by evil? Are they? You know, I mean, obviously, a Jewish person isn't born. The baby isn't naturally evil. I mean, it can't. I mean, the baby doesn't get up and pick up a gun or start.
Genetic level.
What's that? You're saying it's genetics?
It's definitely hereditary. It's genetic, and I mean, telling something that it's not evil. I mean, that's like telling, in this situation, a fox to go into a hen house and assimilate. It's a stupid idea. It doesn't matter what you teach the fox. The fox is going to eat the chickens. And that's what we're dealing with here. We're denying reality. We've said, well, you know, most black people, they're not all bad. It's just some of them that are doing this. Don't pay any attention to the ones that are burning down the cities. Don't make any mention of the ones that are raping white women and beating them to death. No, don't make any mention, because it's just a handful of them. We're in denial about it. And as I said, denial is not just a river in Egypt anymore. These people have a real reality problem. And this is why people are dying. And every jackass white person out there that says, well, I knew it happened, like you guys said about the news earlier. I knew it was going to happen. You know, I see it on the news all the time. I just didn't think it could happen to me. What are these people, brain dead? I mean, every news source I turn on is infested with Jews. I turned on Newsmax. You guys mentioned Fox News and CNN. CNN has always been Jewish. Fox News was just recently, the last year or two, bought out by Jews, up for the most part. It wasn't as bad as it is now. So I try to get away from that. I go to Newsmax. And what's the first thing I see? A Jewish female anchor with bug eyes on there. I see them bringing in rabbis and talking about how great they are. Jews, more Jews. They have to control everything, every aspect of your life. And that's why they want their country. They're running Israel like it's definitely a control thing. And they're running Israel like a modern-day Third Reich. They've rounded up all the blacks in Israel and said, go back to Africa, and built a wall around that country. But if we do it here in the United States, they pull that racist card. You're racist, how dare you? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. They're the biggest racists that they are.
So you're telling me that in the country of Israel or the state of Israel that the blacks are not allowed to live in Israel today? They're shipping them out.
That was my understanding.
Really?
Oh, that's already happened. That's already happened from my understanding. I can't say definitively. I've never had eyes on because I've never been to Israel. I was mortified to ever go to Israel, not because of my public beliefs, but I worked in a lot of Arabic countries, and if I was to go into any places like Saudi Arabia with an Israeli passport stamp on any of my visas, they would deny me entry into that country. I may as well just take my passport and throw it in the garbage.
Wow. I didn't know that. Hey, I've got a little bit of information I'd like to share on the call for those of us gun owners. With this government, what they're trying to do, and the guns with registration and possibly registering ammunition even and everything. There's a legal way to have access to your weapons without actually owning them. And if you would just look into, and you don't even need an attorney to do this, if you would just take your weapons and put them into a trust, which you don't even need an attorney to do, a notary would be very helpful. This way you would not own any weapons and you would not have to forfeit them or register them if the time comes.
You're absolutely right, Bert. I just pulled this up, actually, right here. This is from the Washington Post, actually. The future of Israel's dreamers, raised and schooled in Israel. These young Africans could be sent back to a country they don't know. It says right here, Adam Godin fled to Israel as a boy, escaping war in Sudan more than a decade ago with his family. His mother and 4 younger siblings call home a squat, gray, 2-bedroom bungalow in a downtrodden section of Tel Aviv. Now he's among thousands of African men who could be giving a choice by the Israeli government. Take $3,500 to relocate to an unnamed third country, widely reported to be Uganda or Rwanda. Go back there, home country, or go to jail. Israel began handing out the first deportation orders to Africans earlier this year. The government is scheduled next month to relocate the first of 38,000 Sudanese and Eritrean migrants who entered Israel legally. In many cases, more than 6 years ago, Israel had said it wouldn't deport women and children for now, but that is now on the broader scope and next on the horizon. For hundreds like Godin, who have graduated from the Israeli education system, speak Hebrew, and know little of their home countries. A deportation order could turn their lives upside down. They are Israel's dreamers. We have to keep them urged, and it goes on and on and on. So you're telling the truth there. Why isn't the mainstream media reporting on this? Why? Where are the pastors around America today? Oh, they're jumping off the phone line right now, dropping like flies, you know? Yeah, you see?
Because the mainstream is run by Jews, and they know
because
it.
The government's
get out
got
there
the
and speak the truth.
The government's got the pastors in their churches as the 501(c)(3)s that they can't say anything negative about the government or they're going to lose their status.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they'll lose their status, but I had the option to incorporate the National Socialist Movement as a 501(c)(3), and I refused it. I said I would rather pay taxes, and I'll tell you why. Because they can come in and they can open up my books anytime for any reason they want and see everything I'm doing, with or without warrants, which is nonsense. I'll pay the taxes. Stay out of my business.
Yeah. Well, they can still audit you, though. The IRS can still audit you, but they just can't. But they have to have a reason. They have to.
Yeah, they just can't drop in anytime they want. That's a big deal. And you know that they're just going to turn around and relay all that information. Well, we didn't find anything illegal here, Mr. Colucci. Your taxes seem to be in good order, but we've got all this paperwork. We'll just pass that along to the FBI and Antifa, just because we.
I noticed that a lot about pastors. I've noticed that with pastors, they bring a good message, a solemn message, like they did on the podcast on the other night on your platform. They bring this good and they come real well, but the facts, when you start speaking facts to them and you say anything negative about a Jew,
they don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So, like you said, we cannot admit we have a problem. There's no.
So let me ask you. Ever since the 50s, right up until present day, the black population, for lack of a better term, we're going to come around. We're going to get our way. That's what they've been saying. And since the 50s through the 60s until today, you've seen what's been going on. You came on, and not that I want to say anything bad. You were kind of harsh on me about what I thought, and that's okay. I agree with that. But we sort of come to a meeting of minds here, and during that conversation, what do we do? What does an old man like me do? What do normal people do on a day-to-day basis to support this effort to get America back to the way it should be?
That's a question for
Bert,
me.
You want that one? Yeah,
Bert, that's for you. You said Colucci, I think, is your last name, but Bert, yeah, that's for you.
Yeah. I would say do everything that we're doing right now. It seems to be working very well. We're a bit of a canary in the coal mine going out there to Phoenix like we are, but this is going to be interesting, and I've got plans, things that the government has not thought of. I guarantee you they haven't thought of this stuff. So we're going to see how this works, and if it works the way I think it's going to be beautiful. We're going to be all over this thing with it. Joe, you mentioned the border thing and everything. It's going to be 100% legal. We're not doing anything illegal, nothing whatsoever. The difference is that we have the element of surprise, though, on the things that we are doing legally. And to answer your question, I would recommend that everybody do everything they can. We need financial contributions. We need people out there. We need both if people can do it. If they can't do that, we've got work in this movement for everybody. White people need to admit that we've got a problem here, though. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere. So, like I said, do what you can do to support us. Even if it's a little bit, people are like, oh, I don't have much money. Well, we get people. I got a guy today. He sent in $12. God bless him. He sent us $12. I guarantee that guy didn't have much money, but he sent us $12. You think I'm going to ridicule him and say, well, why didn't you send in 50 or 100? The guy sent us $12. That's all he can afford. We appreciate that, and I guarantee every dime of that money is going to go into fighting for our white rights in this country. So, yeah, do what you can do. And if I was sitting in a wheelchair, I would be doing everything I could do from a wheelchair, too. That's just how my mind works.
I've seen a few of your videos. One that comes to mind, which was great. You were walking down the street somewhere, and there was this woman in front of you, and she kept heckling you on and on and on, standing in front of you. I don't know if it was you or not, but standing in front of where you were walking.
It was me.
And you knocked her on her ass. And that was just great. And that's what needs to be done. Now, from my standpoint, and likely many others, $12, that's not a lot to give up. But, you know, we're bombarded every day with telemarketing calls. They're even using computers now that seem to be real humans. Not that we distrust you in what you're doing, but how do we know as a people, how do we know that what we're supporting is going for the right cause? Even Nancy Struthers put this out there years ago, and you see the speculation in the media about her and how she blew up like a balloon too with all these donations. How do who's listening to this is going to send in a donation know that the money is going for a good cause and not just being taken?
Because I can account for every penny of it, and I've told everybody that I'm willing to do so. Oh, absolutely. I even go further than that. I'm pretty transparent about it now. When people question me about where the money and the donations goes, I'm not going to be like, hey, this guy on Joe Gibson's podcast sent me the money, and he sent me $50, and we put it towards this. I'm not going to get into that detail. But if you send me in $20, $50, $100, whatever the contribution is, thousands, we get them all over the place, whatever it is, and those people ask, hey, what'd my money go for? Yeah, I'm going to tell them. And more often than others, when we get people sending in money, I'd say probably anything above $100, we do have people follow up with that and say, hey, I was just curious, you know, I sent you in $500, and I say, yes, we got that. Thank you very much. We appreciate your
comment. Got some people in the chat room that want to know how to donate, Bert. Got some people in the chat room, so make sure you give that out.
Sure. Yeah, but we get people that do account for that, and they want to know, say, hey, where did the money go? Well, we got a new website. That was around, I think we had a budget of $2,500 for our new website. Now, our website, if you go and look at it, we went for, Joe, you remember the old 1990s crap we had?
Yeah.
That's been on there for 20, 30 years. Now we've got a brand new shiny one on there. HTML5, I think it is. It's the latest and greatest tech. We put a $2,500 budget on that, and I guarantee you we got more than $2,500 worth of website on there, because there's only 1,000 of them in the world that look like that one and use that technology. And I told each and every person, I even sent them updates as we were building it. Say, look, don't get excited. The guys are working on it. This is what your money's going towards. And they're like, thank you for the update. I'm glad to see it's getting built. Every penny. I have no problem opening up the books and showing anybody who contributes. But if I get these stupid people that call up and say, well, I want to know what you're doing with all the money, I'll be like, well, what have you contributed? And they tell me nothing. I just want to know. Well, I'm probably going to tell them to get bent. They're not part of the solution, so they're part of the problem.
Well, you give it to these people, you know where they go. They go on vacation, out to dinner, and, you know, buying three-piece suits and, you know, stuff like that, you know. I mean,
I agree with what you just I agree with what you just said, and you actually named a figure of $2,500. And I just want to tell you, you know, I'm not a spring chicken here, and there are people out there who say it costs them $5,000 per month to run their website, which you know is really ridiculous. Although it is quite possible, maybe they're extravagant with what they spend, but $6,000 a year to run a website seems a bit much for me. And if someone was ripping you off to charge you $6,000 to run your website, I'm sure you could find a much more cheap way to actually run a website.
Yeah, that is kind of steep. Well, I'll tell you right on Joe's podcast what our operational costs as an organization goes, which includes the website, which includes Blog Talk and everything. Our operating costs are $600 per month. Now, I have to come up with those expenses for the organization, whether everybody chips in or not. There have been many months where there was not enough money in the budget because nobody sent anything in for whatever reason, and I had to pay for it. And I don't have a problem with doing that as long as I've got the money to do it with. So, especially when we first started off, it was real bad. So I'm not bashful about being
And before we go any further, why don't you plug that for the people out there that are listening, so that you could possibly get a few bucks?
Well, we don't. The Jews have taken away our ability to process credit cards. They've been very forthcoming about that, and they're very proud of themselves for that. So we cannot take PayPal. We cannot take anything that has a Visa, MasterCard, obviously, American Express logo. Get that all the time. Like, well, you don't take credit cards. You take PayPal. PayPal is credit cards. We can't take that. But what we can take is we can take cash donations, well-concealed cash to our P.O. box. I can give you that address. We do take Bitcoin. We do take Monero. And we do accept money orders. We don't take personal checks either. We've had too many problems, too many bounce checks. So, and it just winds up being more, the bounce fee winds up being more than the donation. So we just cut that out altogether. So
look into Zelle, too. Zelle and direct bank transfers.
We don't accept that, and I'm going to tell you why. Western Union, Zelle, Cash App, any of that stuff, we don't accept that, because what happens is that we get people all the time, like I've got one right now. Every time he sent me an email, we're going to send you $5,000. The subject was big financial contribution. We're going to send you 10. Then the 10 went to 25. I'm going to send you $25,000 Western Union. That is a trap is what that is, and I will explain to you why. What Western Union will do will get you blacklisted off there. Once they figure out, oh, gosh, they're Nazis. We need to get them blacklisted off there. The Jews will come in and they will wave their yarmulkes all around and their kosher money and their kosher garbage. And they will say, we need to blacklist these people off of Western Union, off of MoneyGram, off of Walmart to Walmart, Zelle, Cash App, and everything else you just named off. And you will not be able to do a transaction, personal or otherwise, at that point. So that's why the reason why we could take them. The first time Antifa or the Jews set us up for something like that, it'll be the last time we'll be able to accept them. So that's why we don't accept them at all. It just interferes with
You're absolutely true with that.
Business.
And there's also another way to get donations, which is a little costly, especially on your end, but people would be more inclined, especially the elder population, if you send them a self-addressed stamped envelope and tell them just to slip their cash into the envelope and stick it in the mailbox, because, you know, nowadays you can't even go to the post office because the lines are a quarter mile long, and when you're 65, 70 years old, you're just not going to put up with that shit.
Right. That's true. They're busy. Oh, you get what you pay for at the post office. Everything's all screwed up. The post office is the worst I've ever seen it, so then when I go into the post office at Gibson there, it's all non-whites in there. And it's either non-whites, homosexual non-whites, or both. So hey, I look around and I'm like, well, hey, no wonder why everything's backed up to the door. Yeah, you get what you pay for. You pay bananas, you get monkeys.
Well, in my post office, they happen to want a line because there was a time a couple of years back, and even presently, where I ship items out daily. And I go there in the morning, and there was this old gentleman, and his name was Gene. He was in the post office for probably 40 years. And I walk up to the counter, and I say, Gene, there's nobody here. The line's not out the door. And he looked at me with a sad face. He says, yeah, I know. There's nobody here. But there'll be people here soon. I think they want the lines. I think that's what they actually want.
Yeah. Well,
guess.
Bert, why don't you give out that address there? Why don't you give out that address where people can send in a donation?
Everything is located on our website. If you don't recall anything that I'm saying right now, and I know I don't drive down the road with a pen and paper in my hand, so go to nsm88.org. That's the easiest way. Check out our brand new shiny website. It's got the media player on there for all the shows. And Joe, I just found out something really cool about that too. If you listen to our shows, it's got the last 6 most recent shows on there, including one of your shows on there, which your show has well over 2,000 hits on it right now. I don't know if you saw that or not. That's an epic number though. Wow. Yeah, it's well over 2,000 for one show, one of your shows, over 2,000 listeners.
Wow! So that show's on the website.
Yes. What happens? The way we have it, tell you, we're high tech, brother. Anytime you finish a show, anytime I finish a show, it immediately gets archived on the website for the whole world to see. So they can go in there, and all they got to do is click the play button. And what happens is if your show, like let's say it's Thursday night, you just did your show. Within 5 or 10 minutes, your show is ready to listen to. And then after they've listened to your entire show, which you did damn near a 3-hour show, you had a good show the last time, and that number will seed. It will continue to grow. And after they're done listening to that 3-hour show, they don't even need to push a button. Then it'll play the next show and the next show and the next show, and they don't have to touch a thing. It plays them consecutive, just like that, without them doing a thing.
Wow.
That's
wow.
Good.
Well,
that's good.
Let me give out the
thing.
address for him. Let me see if I can get the address up here for him, because he, like you say, he doesn't want to drive down the road there with a pen and paper. But see if I can get it. I'm on the website now, actually, looking.
Sure, I can give it to you. It's P.O. Box 423. Sorry, P.O. Box 423, 223, Kissimmee, Florida, Kissimmee, Florida, and the zip code is 34742. That address is also at the top of our website. Contact information is on there. Phone numbers are on there. Email addresses. A lot of people get confused with that P.O. Box number. They say, "Oh, you've got 6 numbers on there, and it's too many numbers." You know, Joe, you heard me. I'm like, come on, people. Yeah. 3 of the 6 numbers are the same damn number. It's not that hard. 423223. So it's right on there. All the information you need, pretty much all the resources are on there. And one cool thing we are going to be doing, Joe, I haven't said this on our platform yet. I'll go ahead and bust it out on yours. Since you had such good numbers there, I'll toss you a little phone there, brother. We are actually looking into live streaming anything that we're doing out there at the border via GoPro on a live webcam, and it will be more than likely done right on the NSM website. So how cool is that going to be? Anything we do
cool.
with the rally too.
Oh wow, that'd be great.
All you got to do is go on the website at the time of the event, and you're going to see what I'm seeing right in front of my face from the GoPro on my shoulder. I can't make it no better than that, brother.
It's the way to do it. Not $5,000 a month either.
Yeah, no, it doesn't cost $5,000. If I can run a website and everything else at an organization with the expenses we got in traveling across the country, I mean, $600 doesn't cover the travel expenses or anything like that. But I mean, we've got just Blog Talk alone. Joe, you can go in there and you could look at our, you've got the login credentials. You could look at the edits on there, what we pay per month. It's $250 a month that we pay just for the Blog Talk, and the rest of it is operating expenses. So up to $600. So what is that? $350 a month is what we've got in operating expenses, then plus Blog Talk.
Wow,
so that's not a lot.
Lots of these donations come from the middle-aged or elderly people, the ones who actually got an inkling of what's going on. The younger ones out there, I'm sure there's plenty of them, but the younger ones out there don't have any clue on what we're discussing here. And of course, the other side of the population doesn't want to hear anything of what we're talking about at all, because they may lose something, because they've been trying for 60 or 70 years to get everything for free. But we've got a government here who doesn't even want to listen to you. We got the district of criminals. We have people calling on your phones all day long, telemarketing you, breaking the laws, breaking the federal laws, trying to extort and gain access to your money, funds, credit cards, personal information, or anything else they can write down so that they can call back the next time and try to scam you and screw you over with some sort of scam to get into your bank account. And that's something that I would like to be addressed somehow, some way, because your politicians will not listen to you. When you write to them, they won't even respond to you. Every phone call is traced. Every phone call can be traced back. Get on your cell phone, and I'm just saying this for a demonstration purpose. Say you were going to bomb something. Your IP address would be tracked in a matter of seconds, and you'd have the FBI at your door. So there is a way for them to do this and stop these nonsense robocalls and everything else, which is totally illegal.
Well, just give it back to them like I do. I get them calling me daily, and they call from local numbers, too, these scumbags. That's how they get around it. They know if it's an 888 number, 800 number. Yeah, this stuff looks like it's in the next town or the town you're in. So they call me, Mr. Colucci, how you doing this day? This is Sinead. I'm calling up wanting to know if you want to extend your education by going to Colorado Tech University. How can we help you with that? Okay.
So you want to join a university? Is that why you're calling? We have plenty of courses. We have courses ranging from $9.95 a month to $99.95 a month. Which one are you interested in?
Well, I want to learn how to shoot retard porn.
Okay, we have that one here. That's course number 784.
Exactly what they
Can I have
say.
your first name, please?
That's exactly what they say when I said it. I say I want to learn how to shoot retard porn. They did. Oh, Mr. Colucci, we can help you with that. I'm like,
that's how I
for real?
Well, that's how I respond to these peoples, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, because it's all a scam, it's all a lie. They're just interested in making sure that it's you and your address is correct. Then they go for the credit card, and then they go for your bank account number, and it's all written down somewhere, and the next caller has all that information in front of them, and it's just one big scam. It's illegal, and our government is not helping us with it.
No, they don't care.
Well,
not their problem.
No, they don't. Well, I know the National Socialist Movement. They got their podcast coming up here in actually about 1 minute there. So I'm going to patch on through. I'm going to probably go on over there and listen in. Wrap up my podcast here. If there's any final thoughts here, both of you guys, real quick.
Thanks for bringing me in, Joe. I appreciate it. Your
man.
show is one of my favorite shows out there. It's a toss-up whether or not I like our platform better or yours. I like your show. It's really good. Your shows, I mean, I always did. You know that. I told you even before you came over to us. So I said, I really like Joe's shows, and I do. Great. It's a diverse crowd, great talking points. So keep up the good work, and yeah, definitely check out your numbers over there on NSM website, because all I can say is, holy shit.
Yeah, I will definitely. How do I do that? Can anybody do that when they go to the website, or is that private information?
Yeah, as long as you have login credentials, yours should work the same way as ours. You just go in.
Okay.
Do the drop down box where your little picture is.
Yeah. I got you.
Just go into the stats on there or the dashboard, and it'll show you. It'll break it down like a little graph, and then it'll show you for each show and what your show did. Yep. 2000. I was going to call the Black Panther Queens tonight, but I think they're already off the air. That was going to be an interesting argument there, debate with them. They were on they do a podcast show also, and let me tell you, you should listen to these black women. Everything is white man's fault. Oh, they're terrible. But man, thanks for joining me. Every 5 seconds, it's like they say black power. Every 5 seconds out there. They get tired. We don't even do that on our podcast.
And if you say white power, you're a racist.
Well, I guess I'm racist then. Sign me up.
Yeah, well, I hear that. And listen, I'll get out of here too, and I'll let him sign off. But it's been nice listening to you, Bert. I always like listening to you. Not that I listen that much, but as I said, I'm doing away from the mainstream media because it's all a bunch of shit. It's all a bunch of crap. It's actually a complete waste of time, is what it is. And we'll see what we can do. We'd like to help you out the best we can. Reiterating, there are elderly people out here and older people and midlife people that don't have a clue really on what you're talking about. So specific information would always be best for, shall I say, our kind. And with that, I guess I'll let it go.
All right, everybody.
Support. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right, hey, everybody that's listening right now tonight, check out the NSM Media Network. They are in their call-in numbers 516-453-6058. Okay, go over there and check them out. Harry Hughes is going to be on there from down at the border, so you need to listen to him. Everybody, take care.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military industrial